This is what the Hartford Circus Fire Memorial looked like last year. Usually, people could go stop by to pay their respect to the 168 lives lost in the tragedy. But in 2025, due to the demolition of the Wish School, that memorial fenced off. And the ceremony that would take place on this day, no more. But still, people were asked to reflect on the lives lost and the lives impacted by that fateful day back in 1944.
I remember my mother said, "Was anybody injured?" And some guy says, "No, everybody got out." Well, that was a big lie.
Before he moved to Southern California, Jim Bushnell was just a kid from Mansfield, Connecticut. On July 6, 1944, his family and the family next door packed up and went to Hartford to go to the circus. But it wasn't long before things went horribly wrong.
We were about row 5, 6 or something like that. The thing I remember most is the heat on my back.
For a 9-year-old, that had to have been a lot. What was your emotion at that time?
Probably not as bad as it should have been. It happened because we didn't know how many people were killed either. I guess I was too young to get too excited about it.
In the commotion, 2 of Bushnell's brothers got separated from the group. One was found on a porch at a nearby house. The other was thought to be dead for a moment, until he was found at a nearby school where the other children were taken. A total of 168 lives were lost on that day in 1944, a memory that continues to stick with survivors to this day, including Bushnell's late wife, Mary, who went with his family to the circus.
She was always very nervous about fires after that.
And something survivors like Pete Borderland push to move on from.
How do you get over something like that? I think it's willpower. I think you just have to decide that you got to put it behind me or it'll eat you alive.
Back in 2005, a memorial was built to honor those lives lost, with a circular plaque in the middle of it all, and the names of each of the victims engraved on it. And while the memorial site is not accessible this year due to the construction and demolition in the area, Hartford's first responders and members of the community are still remembering those lives lost in what is still one of the worst fires in the state in U.S. history. Since 1944, groups have been organized to chronicle the history of the Hartford Circus fire. For a link on more photos, interviews, and stories, you can head on over to our website, fox61.com. In Hartford, Stephen Reels, Fox 61.